Okay, so far this is who's here for the community group. I know Allison Soroy is on Zoom as well as Rob. So if everybody wants to go around and introduce themselves so that it's clear and speak up so that the computer can record it. I'm Nell Tharp, East Booth Bay resident.
Hi, I'm Debbie Bronk. I'm at Bigelow and also a Booth Bay resident.
John Ziegler, I'm Booth Bay Regional Water District, and I'm a Booth Bay resident.
Philip Conkling, I am with New England Aquaventus Stakeholder Outreach.
Matt and Jen were East Booth Bay residents.
Olive, East Booth Bay resident.
Okay, Rob, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Trotta, and I am the project director for NEAV, New England Aquaventus.
All right,
And I'm Allison Soroy. I'm an East Booth Bay resident. Thanks now.
thank you, Allison. I'm sliding down to see if I can find the agenda because I was not organized. Oh, thank you. You want to go for it, Deb?
No,
So one correction, future meeting location and date, we're gonna meet here. It's the first and third Thursday of the month, so it's not every other. So that we'll have to let the Y know. And I will also say that Allison Soroy and I got together to work on the matrix and thought that at some point we want to, because NEAV's going to be moving forward, and we'd love an update on timelines from you, Rob, that we might want to add a meeting because September has so many Thursdays.
so yeah, it has 3.
It has 3, so we might, it has 5 Thursdays.
Oh,
So
right.
we,
So
so we
could have
might,
3 meetings.
yeah, so we might actually add one and potentially do a longer one if we're close enough to like have something ready to present. Because we really want to wind this up to a presentation to NEAV as sometime in October, okay?
Okay, so then if we think we want an extra meeting, should we just keep it every other and then we get 3 meetings in September?
We'd get 3 meetings, but then we would come back on the 6th of October. So it would be adding an extra meeting as opposed to going to every other, because that will get confusing.
Okay.
Because the invitations are all done. I don't want to go back and do that.
Okay, so I'll just let them know. But so we do want that 3rd Thursday in September for the room.
I think so. And potentially for 2 hours instead of 1. Is what we were thinking. So the group can have a discussion and decide if that looks like it will work. Do you know what your time frame is, Rob, for wanting to have a list of asks and priorities?
I don't have a hard one, but I could provide maybe some project guide, where we are with some of the pieces of the dates that might help drive where this group wants to take the community benefits agreement. I just want to clear that it's admirable, to shoot for that October, but I just want to let everyone know that the COD date, which is still very much being reviewed because of the technology of the foundation, we still have 2 very opposing different timelines that we're working on, no different than what I had reported, previously. But it could vary between 2025 and 2026. So we're not talking about investment decisions until mid next year. So we're here to support as you all want to move forward, but you're not going to miss the bus.
Okay.
If you're into even into early next year and you're still finalizing things.
Okay, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
And we're, if
Okay.
it goes on and on and on, people are just gonna drop off.
Right,
So
right.
moving.
Yeah, like I said, but you all, there's a lot of that. You're right. There's a lot of merit to keeping with the tide, if you will.
Yeah.
But from our perspective, there's a good amount of time still. Basically, every year.
Right, but if we're gonna go, let's say we decided to do the sewer expansion, we have to go seek potential additional funding. so that, you know, there are other component pieces that might be in play.
Mhm.
And so that would be part of what would come after the decision was made by the community, because the community group has to make the decisions, then take it to the bigger community, get feedback.
Right.
So it'll be a process. And then if the towns have to participate, or any of the other agencies like the sewer district,
Yeah.
they're gonna need lead time. So that's what we're trying to factor in.
I totally understand and agree. And I think there's another milestone that you are, let's say, a milestone and a prerequisite, if you will, that I think everyone needs to keep in mind is that the project is extremely committed, and we are, with another keep saying that, to the enter into this, you know, community benefits agreement and find something that, you know, we think is a good benefit. But that's all all based on the fact that the project does get built. You
Obvious.
know, so there, you know, so you'll have to weigh some of the timing of those commitments versus where we are with the actual financial investment decision final. So there's just that nuance. I think you just want to make sure everyone keeps that in mind.
Do you know when purchase or when a permit decisions would get made? Cause I'm assuming you're talking about, you got a lot of permits to get. Yeah.
Still, it'd be a lot to happen. Yes, over 11 permits, you know, that are going to be required. And we not envision having that wrapped up until August, September of next year. Okay, so you won't have a financial investment decision until that's all all completed. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So has Niev made a decision about the location of the proposed cable?
No, we have not. It has not been finalized. There's still a couple pieces that are going through some detailed engineering before we feel that we could bring it to the community. And we feel that we're still target. I think that should be happening before the end of the year. But we want to make sure that when we do bring something, a proposal, you know, for review, that we know it's feasible, you know, and we have a good enough understanding. So that's still being targeted before the end of the year.
Okay, so one of the questions that was raised in the last meeting that you were unable to attend was whether an engineering report that for installation of sewer needed to be done before you made your decision about the final location of the cable, so that even if sewer didn't go in simultaneously, there'd be no barrier to it going in the future.
Yeah, no, Philip and I did talk about that question that came up in the last meeting. And in that time, what I did do is I went and spoke with some of our engineers, internal and external, to get a little smarter on some of those pieces. And what I found out is the following. First off, I think it's important that we have to talk about the actual right of way. That's the Maine Department of Transportation right of way. The width of that right of way, it varies a little bit depending on where you're at, but it's roughly 100 feet wide. Okay, and so that is the width of that right of way. Portion of that, as you know, right now currently has a sewer line in it, you know,
Right.
And there's some water, you know, out there, but there is the generator gen tie, the cable that will be buried, being at the worst case the widest, and then putting a buffer on it on top of that, you know, I'm talking maybe 3 to 5 feet at the worst. I mean, just making sure there could never be an issue, right? No matter what we see in the ground, you know. So we're definitely, you know, so what we're seeing and what we see is right now with the width of the existing MDOT right of way, the current utilities that are in there, which are not many, and are at the end of the day small footprint relative to the entire right of way, coexisting is not with the current or a future line is at this point not considered going to be a problem. So we're okay as part of that of a review from a due diligence perspective. Then, but you have to put us all under the umbrella that it will all have to be approved by MDOT. you know,
Right,
as
of
well.
course.
Even, yes, yeah. So
Okay.
I hope that was helpful to me. I hope it's helpful to y'all, you know, that, you know, understanding the right of way and what it sits.
Yeah, I mean, understanding the right of way, and of course, in many places, while the right of way may be that wide, the actual area to access without going right in somebody's house may be less than that. There are areas
I'm
where,
not sure I would say house, but nonetheless,
Uh,
it is, you know, there's more than sufficient MDOT right
Yeah.
away. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. So that was very helpful, thank you.
You're
And
very welcome.
I want to make a change to the agenda because we have had some issues with the drought. So there are a number of people in East Booth Bay whose wells are now getting saltwater incursion.
Oh, gosh.
So, you know, when we're talking about health and safety, potable water is pretty high up on the list. So I invited John Zigra to attend this evening. We hadn't previously talked about having water as one of the potential expansions. But for some of the side streets, Lincoln Street is one of the places, Barlow Hill is also an issue. So just wanted to see, you know, get information like we did last time from Chris Higgins, so we have a better idea and we can put it on our matrix and start talking about it in that way. So if you just want to tell us a little about what it would entail and what the options are.
Yeah, Barlow Hill, as a matter of fact, we did get a application from some folks up there off a seasonal water main that have had wells go dry. Those are being fast tracked over the right. Long term, it would take putting year-round water main, basically renewing from our center, or from 27th and Lincoln Street all the way to this terminus.
I'm sorry, can move either move him closer or move the computer closer, or if he can slide in. Thank you. Sorry, I appreciate that.
That's right, we want it for the recording too.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Oh, my goodness. Yes, thanks so much.
I can talk
Thanks,
loud
John.
too. I'm really good at it.
I'm sure you can.
But anyway, Lincoln Street, since, actually, and to be quite open, Nell is one of, I work for Nell, along with 6 other trustees, elected trustees. So she brought it to my attention this week that there was an issue up there. We had a discussion on Wednesday. That's going to be on a future project list to replace Lincoln Street all the way to the end and convert the seasonal water main to year-round water main. Also, we've done quite a few projects in East Booth Bay, and we're going to loop Lincoln Street in with a project we did 2 or 3 years ago on Barlow Hill, so that the water, it adds fire protection and that type of thing.
Yeah.
We're doing that anyway. But you know, the timing of it, it's going to be out a ways because we have we're on the 3rd revision of our capital improvement plan. And there are a lot of projects that are just as dire in the district and have been identified. So we have to, and we think district wide, not town wide. So I think that's what.
Yeah.
This project will be funded by the district. The projects do move up if there's funding available.
So if NEAB provided funding, that would make a difference.
Hypothetically speaking, if I had 50% of the project committed to, and that came to me, I would be not doing my job if I didn't take it to the trustees and endorse it, because that's 50 cents on the dollar. And we're going to do the project anyway. So, and that would, if that had a short time crunch, that would move up to the head of the line. And that's
So what's the what would the price tag be on the whole project? What do we?
for being conservative in a few years out, probably under 400.
1,000?
Yeah.
Well, and then we also talked about extending the sewer line out Green Landing Road and back up to Bigelow. so that there was a
And
loop
put water
there
in there as well.
instead of, because every time you have a dead end, so when the Washburn fire happened, because there wasn't a loop, there was vacuum. And so for fire protection, looping is definitely
Right.
preferable. Yeah, so anybody have questions about the potential for water, or anybody have an objection to water going onto the options for the matrix?
We're just gonna solve all the problems.
Well,
Perhaps like.
I mean, well, this is,
I need a
that's why,
drink.
this is why we have to, winnow them down, put them in priority order, figure out what the costs are involved, and then be able to move through systematically before we can have any idea.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is, if I may, I think this is very much in line with your remit of how when you first started, we didn't want to artificially limit anything. The brainstorming, this is the brainstorming federal, right? Let's understand, all the potential ways that we could be a benefit. And then we could go into some of the restrictions, be it timing, be it funding, to help select. So I applaud your process.
Okay, so thank you. Yeah, I think you're free to go. If there's no other questions, I don't want to hold you.
My dogs are.
Is there some,
Now-
John,
Yes.
if I may, John, I'm not gonna let you off that. So these are, I would imagine these proposals or this engineering has already been advanced to a stage. Is that fair? Like there's already been some preliminary engineering, or
Oh,
there's
yeah,
some
we would
reports on this?
we would absorb all of that. And to be quite honest with you, laying water is not rocket science.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of these things we do, these are called pay-go projects.
Mhm.
Means we pay as we go. We're not going to bond them. That's we have a construction team in our organization. We will do the construction with the help of a local contractor.
Mhm.
We've kind of developed a model that's really saved the ratepayers a lot of money over the years, and we've done many, many, many projects.
Mhm.
Done 3 in East Booth Bay in the last 4 years.
Mhm.
Fixing old water mains and stuff like that. So I mean, these are small enough where we will take them on. And actually, as compared to the sewers, you have to be a whole lot more precise. These are just,
Yeah.
in reality, I have to get a road opening permit from the town, and that's about it. We
Mhm.
can put it, we have a minimum depth. We know where the right of ways are. The only other thing that would be a little touchy is looping it in from, doing a sanitary loop from, Barlow Hill. We would have to get a easement from a landowner and, 2 landowners. But we've already broken the ice on that because that was a future project anyway, and it looks like it'd be mutually beneficial for both. So, that's $10,000 of a lawyer's time, really. And that's about it.
Okay.
This is pretty routine for us.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Okay,
Is that it?
that's it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's easier than normal. All righty.
Yeah. Okay, so the other things that are on our agenda are the communication with the towns. So, we have a plan to send postcards, but we were up in the air with our venue of where we were gonna be, so that got on hold. And we wanted to have the items on the matrix kind of fleshed out so that we could send a link with the postcard to do a survey monkey. And hopefully we can make it quick and simple and just ask people to prioritize and then leave room for comments so that it's not a complicated survey. Most people are not going to want to look at the matrix. We actually were talking about potentially sharing the matrix with the folks at the register so they could paraphrase it in consumer-friendly language, so that the community would know what all of the potential options are, and the register could put the link to the survey in, and then that would be able to be linked from their online edition, so people don't have to type it all in, so they could just click on it. And then, obviously we need people to identify their zip code so that we, aren't getting a lot of people from elsewhere.
Though some of them will, well.
They might have
some are-
more than
right.
one, but
Yeah.
yeah, your
I get
local zip code. Yeah, so, other suggestions for community outreach to get people involved?
Good old fashioned flyers at the post office and the East Booth Bay General Store and stuff. I feel like I always look at the bulletin boards.
Yep,
I don't know if other
okay.
people do.
Yep, that's a good idea.
Or even cards to take with, if it's
Yeah.
gonna have a link on it, not everyone. To.
Take a picture of
Yeah.
it.
And I wonder about the barcodes.
The QR
Yeah,
code that you can
the
scan
QR
with your with your
Yeah.
phone.
Oh, I don't know, I'm not quite with
I
it.
think
with
they're
that, so-
fairly easy to do.
Yeah.
I've not done one before, but
Yeah.
I live on the computer, so I'm always game
Yeah,
to try that stuff out.
yeah.
And when we got here, there were no tables set up and John's like, how many people usually come? I'm like, 8 chairs should be plenty because you can look for community engagement, but quite often you don't get a lot of people at any one time.
Yeah.
I did stop by Cunningham's farm stand today and talk to Chuck, who is the chairman of the Booth Bay Select Board. And said, how can we come back as the community group to the selectmen? What's the process? Because we'd like to have engagement. Trish Warren from Booth Bay Harbor, who's a selectman from Booth Bay Harbor, has come to meetings. She wasn't able to come tonight. But since Dan hasn't been joining us, we don't have anyone from the town. And we really feel like because of the nature of these projects, if it were water or sewer or sidewalks, it involves the towns. They need to be part of the process. And especially if there's anything that would require any funding that the towns would have to seek, that would require voter approval, and that's a whole nother process. And the towns would have to both be on board for that. So hopefully we can go to the Booth Bay Select Board and just give them an update about the community group. Yes, Rob.
Hi, a process question. From previous meetings, I understood that the process that y'all looking to do was to reach out to the communities, to the municipalities, obtain the feedback, but then that you all were going to bring that to Booth Bay and Booth Bay Harbor to the select boards to work through, because I would envision that any agreement would be with the towns,
Yes,
and that
so
the
that's
towns
part
would
of
then.
why, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go
It's okay.
ahead.
I was no, just want to show that. So I think that you're still in the aggregating information, doing the matrix, all good stuff. But then at some point, that's going to have to go to the town.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
but,
Yeah.
but rather than trying to start new with the town at that point, it would be much nicer if there's someone from the town who participates in the meetings.
Got wholeheartedly.
So we
Thank you.
don't have to start from square one explaining everything. And they may have valuable input as we go through the process. Because they know about how the municipalities work, and that's not our,
Yeah.
that's none of our forte.
Very good. Thank you for the
Okay.
clarification.
Yep,
Yes, I
yeah,
could not agree more. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
so on Mohegan, the agreement was with the plantation itself?
So it went through the plantation. Yes.
Okay, that was my assumption, and yeah. And again, it depends on what the project is. I'm assuming it would impact both towns. But, we don't know until there's a decision. So.
Right.
All right, can I steal the agenda back?
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate the teamwork. All right. In terms of survey questions, my thought, it's just a little blurb about here's what the deal is. if you want more information, you can go to and a link. And then, and ideally that's a register article. And then it's just what the potential items are. So there's potential for sewer, for water, for upgrades to the electrical system,
Sidewalks.
sidewalks, bike paths, traffic safety, that's kind of bundled in a package. And then a potential for offset of electric costs. That's kind of a different animal. It's not a hard concrete. It's not a, not that kind of a project. So, and I think that's everything.
So the cards and the flyers, if those happen, those wouldn't have those listed. It would just say if you're interested in participating.
Well, so that's, I mean, that's a question. And of course, Pauline and I think Dana said they would work on the postcards and, they've both been busy.
It's hard to put much on
So,
there.
it
It's
is.
not that big.
But I
so-
think you get
Right.
more engagement if there were some things like, oh, sewer,
Yeah,
like. ooh,
So maybe just a simple list without an explanation.
Yeah,
Or
totally.
information.
Oh, yeah, little
Yeah.
bullet points, nothing.
yeah,
too-
yeah, okay.
maybe not too words.
Yeah, and we can pass that along.
I'd be happy to help with that.
Okay,
Dana and Allison. Dana, and who did you say were doing it?
I thought Pauline, yeah,
I'll reach
But-
out to them and see if they
yeah,
want.
she's been totally consumed with the sea and science, but that was winding down here. Pretty quick.
I think it's tomorrow.
Yes,
It's-
I was like,
Mm.
yeah, gotta
Rob?
be. Yep,
I just wanted to make sure that, we discussed this before, but I want to make sure maybe this is a good point time to bring it up, is that as y'all are putting this information together and questioning how much information you could get on it, maybe take a first step at getting everything you think you want. And then like we offered to help support this, I could bring it to professional strategy group to see how they could format that, and make it into a fold or something, you know what I mean? So if you want to come to the project with a draft to bring forward to see how that could be incorporated, we'd be happy to try that and help you out as part of that
Okay.
process.
yep, that sounds good, and we haven't forgotten, but yeah, the difference between a big postcard or a little standard postcard size or a trifold with a sticker.
Yeah,
It's all different. I think
yeah,
sometimes the postcard is better because you don't have to open it. And if there's something that catches your eye, you're gonna hang on to it, whereas the trifold, it's gonna just get round filed. So,
understood. Just want to the extent that that we can be helpful, we're a resource.
yeah, appreciate that. Okay.
Okay. Mm.
All right, and then we were supposed to talk today about traffic and road and specifics. Anything we want to talk about in terms of adding things to the matrix? So last time we had talked about the sewer, and that informed stuff that we added to the matrix. And if you go to the Google Doc, everybody should be able to access it. If not, let me know and I'll send you the link. But we've added a page for each category. So sewer has its own page now. So there's a page that has everything on it. And then there's a page for each category. So as we get more information, we can just capture all that information so that it can be used in the decision-making process.
Thank you.
You were addressing traffic conditions.
So that's one of the things that we want to address. So to raise any issues now about what mitigation strategies we might use, what would we be asking for? The things that we have talked about previously are sidewalks, bicycle paths, handicapped accessible crosswalks, rumble strips to
And
slow,
mirrors.
and mirrors. Yeah,
Yeah, but that is really treacherous
It is.
going around. Yeah, and that's where you live, right? Isn't your house
It
right
is.
there? Yeah,
It is,
yes.
yeah.
Yes. And we had previously been through this, for those of you who haven't lived in Booth Bay very long. And the town manager a while back had installed speed bumps, which
They removed.
They removed, yes. It was not, they did not go over well. They did slow people down, but, but they're a problem for plowing. So talked with one of the firemen who said that the rumble strips are fine for plowing. So they, they just, if you're going the right speed, they don't make any noise. But if you're going too fast, they do that brrr and will slow people down. So that's an option that doesn't interfere with plowing, but it would have to go to the voters and to DOT. So it's not something that the town can make the decision and then implement it. So there's a process that would have to happen.
So the option to have removal, which both towns, whether it's the harbor or Boothbay, do for the influx of people that come. So meaning, if you wanted to have something, whether it's an island, temporary island with plants in it, just for, of course, the plow and everything, it's gonna get destroyed.
Right.
There's a lot of things, they have contingency for the destruction from the plows, it's just the fact of life with that. And the piling up of snow, you're not gonna know, you might know 3 feet, oh, I can see something's there, but 6 feet. Nah.
Yeah.
So the removable strips, if they had good success with the bigger rumble strips, because the smaller ones, I don't know how effective essentially that would be. But I heard people speaking of like almost like temporary islands, which again would create a hazard in and of itself, people crashing into those.
Right.
But it's a tough question to deal with any of the traffic stuff. The mirror is always going to help, unless the sun reflects. it's but that's probably not even the case. The options to have something that's temporary for a larger influx of people, or when this.
But even in the summer, I mean, even in the winter,
Oh, it's.
I mean, well, and we've got one postdoc that is about to get. I see you, because he flew by me. It's like, I ever see that again, you're out of here. It's right, so
Especially
he's
since the
here
road just got
24/7.
paved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
that didn't help too much anywhere.
no,
It really didn't.
so did
Like
River
crazy.
Road, everything's getting.
Yeah,
It's,
Sam was happy. And it's been very difficult with that. And is it just people who come in now? What's that? And is there an easy fix? I don't think there's an easy fix. In the state of Maine, you're not allowed to have. They took traffic surveillance enforcement.
Right.
cameras. Not allowed to have speed cameras, not allowed to have red light cameras. Difficult. Oh, I'm sorry.
Gotta use your
Yes.
projection voice.
Yeah, so it limits the options that you have to do that, but I don't think it's impossible. It's just as long as people are flexible to the idea of maybe some temporary removal things back and forth.
So what kind of thing would be a temporary removable thing? Because
Well,
I'm
just
not
what you
familiar
said,
with it.
The larger strips that I don't know.
Okay,
the-
so I'm talking about in the pavement.
Yeah, that's in the pavement, yeah.
So that's not temporary.
It is temporary. So if you drive by on Union Street, right, where Brady's is.
Yeah.
And the pizza place is right there. If you ever notice, there's that, gets drilled in and then taken out, and then they put rumble strips on granary, lane going down. It's all temporary stuff.
Huh, I've
The
never
little
seen them.
The little crosswalk that people crash into, they removed, that was between Brady's and the pizza.
Huh.
But it's a tough one.
Yeah, I was
and-
thinking of the rumble strips that they have at the interstate.
Yep.
That are embedded in the pavement, or
Right.
where they do it in the center line.
Sure, and then, you have, the speed bumps that are asphalt that are part of the road itself, but
Yeah,
again, for
That's
plowing
not-
and
that
weather
doesn't work.
conditions, it's not gonna happen. It's not, it wouldn't be feasible that way.
right.
If you've driven down Granary to the parking lot, those are pretty effective. And, as far as some type of, temporary island too, I heard a number of people mention too, meaning it would be, essentially like a trough for.
To narrow the road
Yeah,
so
to
people
narrow the
had the,
road, have people slow down.
yeah,
It's difficult. It's hard choices.
yeah. Well, I know at Booth Bay Center, they've got at the crosswalk, they have a button that the pedestrian can push and the lights come on. And, you know, something like that by at least by the East Boothbay General Store, would make a difference, as well as one of the mirrors, so the pedestrian could see if there's traffic. Because that's where you stand, and the previous neighbor had planted a whole row of trees, which I understand, but then they blocked the line of sight for the pedestrian trying to cross. So, you know, if we can identify actual things that we think are the best choices, that would be ideal.
Nell, I have a question. It's
Yes.
Allison. So is there like a standard study or something we could do to do that? Is that, how does that work? I'm guessing the towns do that in some way, or DOT, or do you hire a consultant to sort of walk through and identify things and come up with some sort of report or something like that to guide us? And
That's Great idea.
and if that's the case, then how much would that cost and who would do it?
Okay, we will add that to the mix. I don't have the answer, but it's a good question. We're collecting questions at this point.
Yeah, and the other question or thought I had was, let's go back to the sidewalk or the bike path idea in the right of way. That would be part of that too, because I'm curious to know how that works. Like, how would is that if it's in the right of way, does DOT give us permission to create it? And if not, does it impinge on anyone's property? How does that work? So that would be something we'd probably want a more technical expert giving us a report on, I would think.
Right, it's less of an issue coming from 27 to the village, but right at the top of the village is where everything narrows, and it definitely would be critical information for there.
Yeah. And then one of the other things that brought up when talking about the bike path was, parking on either end. Is that something that should be part of or looked at to see if there's, if people driving from Ocean Point to park somewhere, then to bike into town, and the other way from town, are there parking lots that we could utilize for parking for people to go from, like, say, the small mall to East Boothbay? So
Right.
that would be, yeah, just wanted to bring that up because I think that would be part of it as well.
So that's an interesting suggestion, and obviously the small mall, that would be another road crossing, depending on what side the bicycle path was on. I wonder how much property CMP owns right there where the substation is. Whether that would potentially be an option. So good, thank you, good question. Other thoughts about traffic, road? Locations of crosswalks?
Yes, up from where it was at the East Boothbay General Store. Where it wasn't very useful because there's no sidewalk on the East Boothbay General Store side, so anything on wheels can't use that crosswalk there.
Right.
So it would have to go beyond the Boothbay General Store, more towards Ocean Point.
Right. Yeah. And how about by your house, Matt? I know you're just trying to discourage people from parking in front of your house.
Let's just get the construction.
Okay, but
That's
to have a,
That's not,
okay,
that's town.
Town.
right, with
yeah, okay. And people like to go look at and watch the water.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, it's tough, it's a tough call, and I think would be the town. Cause they took the strips out, correct? That were there. That was the town decision.
I don't think
correct?
there was,
They had rumble strips there at one point. And they were,
they must have been very temporary.
well, that's the
I mean,
thing.
in the last 36 years, I don't remember any.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what- Yeah, I was told that maybe that was a quick thing. Maybe that was a quick decision made.
Yeah,
Just like,
I mean, I remember when they put in the the speed bumps, and that was a quick
Is that
outcry,
what I
and,
mean?
and
The
they,
speed
yeah,
bump, is that
yeah,
what
it was
Then I'm
asphalt.
confusing too.
It was asphalt, and yeah, they put them in and they came out very quickly. So, but that's the only thing, yeah.
You know where they came out, people just hated him.
Well, they came out because due process had not been happening, so when people hated them, it raised a whole can of worms. And then, since then, you know, everything has been like, you have to go to the DOT, but the town has to vote on it, so, you know, so part of the question is, what is the order? Like, DOT won't do it unless the voters say, so it has to go to the town first, go to the voters, then the town can go to DOT.
Wow.
So, yeah. 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 Okay, so I know, for the next, somewhere for one of the next meetings, we wanted to have somebody from CMP to come to talk about, yeah, the feasibility of burying the electric lines from, you know, the harbor to East Booth Bay, or any other electrical aspects.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be nice.
and Trish Warren did send a contact, but they have not yet been contacted. So, yeah. Yeah, she sent two things. I'm trying to think what the other one is. My memory is not great.
DOT contact.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. I think she sent a DOT contact as well.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure.
okay.
Be useful, that would be very useful.
Oh, no, school. Yes, she said it was MDOT. It was not CMP. That's my bad. So yes, we have a contact from MDOT so that we can talk about the road and stuff when we have kind of a concept to put forward. And then the superintendent of schools was interested in the whole concept, because we were going to have just an open door brainstorming for everything. So Trish advised Mr. Kaler about the group and what we're doing, and he wanted to come and talk about what potential, and Trish knows that it's, you know, health and safety is the priority. So we had a placeholder for schools, but there's nothing under it yet. So this would start that conversation. So those have not been set up, but we can go ahead and make that happen. I will put that as a priority on mine, because I did, but I forgot. Too many things happening. Too many things happening. So other suggestions, thoughts? Sometimes last time we had very robust discussion about sewer. Sewer,
I learned a lot.
I learned a lot. Sewer is
Who knew it was
complicated.
complicated?
Sewer is
I guess we should have
complicated.
known that.
So, you know, one of the pieces, go ahead, Allison.
Yeah, I was going to bring up now, one of the pieces when we talked about it ourselves over the weekend was maybe we should be thinking about where, you know, Niev could provide funding for a concrete piece of a project, and then the town or the community group could form the fundraising effort specifically for sewer, because we were talking about that report that needed to be done for sewer, because it's such a big project. Do we need to, when we identify these categories, do we need to also identify like concrete short-term things that could be funded versus longer term sort of funding that could be gotten in addition to that thing? Does that make sense?
So, for example, funding the engineering report
Right.
then would allow the towns or the sewer district or whoever the entity is to go look for funding for the project itself. So that you're doing a piece of it, or that you're looking to offset the ready to serve fee And so you're asking for a pool of money to offset the ready to serve fee, but you're seeking ARPA funds or some other funds for the actual project. And, you know, the confounding piece is that the sewer district doesn't want to incur any debt. So the funding would have to cover everything. I mean, no debt means not a penny. And realistically, the sewer district would have to be the one filing the grant applications. You know, the towns are not, they don't typically file a grant application for a quasi municipal organization that's going to do an installation of something, you know, like sewer infrastructure. So that would be a further discussion with the sewer district once there was actually a plan for how would we make this work, if this is really what the community says is their priority. So the two places, like with what Allison was saying, that I could see an ask for funding from NEAV would be that initial engineering report and potentially a fund for covering the ready to serve fee. And then the rest comes back to the community and the sewer district to make that happen, provided there's still funds available. So, but you know, ideally, it would be seeking those funds as soon as possible so that if there's work being done, it can be done simultaneously as opposed to being doubly disruptive. So, you know, from an engineering perspective, that's a question, Rob, about whether having two things happen simultaneously is makes it too complicated. Or one could go sequentially right after the other before the you know, road gets repaved.
I think this is it's a great question. And I'm not going to bring you all the answers at this moment, but I think it's something that we continue to talk through. But I could share a couple thoughts with you initially, and then we could take it from there. The first one is, as I stated or restated in the beginning of the meeting, is that the intent of the commitment where we're coming from was, if there's a project, if there's disruption, we're going to have a community benefits agreement to help bring benefit to the community because of that. And that's really the intent. You know, I give I'm sure there could be quite a list of engineering studies or certain things that could be done to answer a lot of questions. And I think I would recommend that that maybe in your table of what you're reviewing, you think about just a suggestion of ease of execution.
Yes.
You know, if this is going to require, you know, tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars work on the front end to make this happen, and the commitment now, that's not in line with the intent of the community benefits agreement. Yeah. So I just being candid. Does that mean that we wouldn't be part or help contribute to any? I'm sorry, Deb.
So you're just, until you get all the permits, you don't know if there will even be a disruption, so you're not gonna spend any of the money.
I think, you know, if we were to help, you know, support a fundraising activity or something, that's different, you know, but to go to the project to fund engineering studies of something that hasn't even been selected as a candidate, or to better understand it, I think is a little bit of stretch of where we want to be right now.
Yep, that's fine. I mean, we need that feedback from you.
Yeah.
That's what helps give us the parameters of what we're working on. So that's just fine. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
All right. So I don't have anything else. I'm just going to open the floor to everybody.
Good.
All right. Philip, anything?
No, I think, you know, every meeting moves the process along, and it just takes time.
It does. It does.
So for homework, someone's
Yes.
communicating with DOT. Is that the next thing on the list, or
Yes.
CM?
You can work with me on that. How about that?
Love it.
Okay,
So DOT comes before CM
DOT and the school.
and the school, okay,
But then, yes, we need to find a contact for CMP.
CMP.
We don't have a contact yet.
Yeah.
So anybody knows people at CMP? Especially anybody who lives in the area, I think I might.
Yeah,
So,
I talked to my neighbors that
yes,
they're kind of like independent contractors, so they said they weren't the people to talk to,
but they could get us a contact maybe?
well, I kind of worked on that a little bit and no names or numbers were given, but a department.
That's
to
fine.
reach
That
out
would
to.
work.
Yeah,
So we can do that as well.
Yep.
All right, good. Anything else that people think needs to happen before the next meeting? So we can put it on the to-do list. Going once, going twice. I say, let's leave a few minutes early and enjoy the evening.
Enjoy. Thank you all. Cheers.
Thanks now.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, bye.
Thanks.
No worries.
Rob, did he tell you this?